Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and I want to ask the question, what is Grundrar the Fighter? Sorry to give you some homework here. You can't listen to this video alone. What is Grundrar the Fighter is a freighted sentence, and it has freight. And in order to understand that freight, you have to listen to these first two videos. So this is part of a playlist. Just hit in the description below and it'll link you into the playlist. If you've already listened to my other two What is Grundrar the Fighter videos, you're all set. You can proceed forward. But if you're not, you do need to listen to the other two videos in this playlist to understand this playlist. It contains context, and we're talking about a deep subject for deep people, right? And so let's go. All right, so what is Grundrar the Fighter? So I believe that we have reached the question of what is Grundrar the Fighter. And what is the Grundrar the Fighter is an echo of the question from Rise of the Planet of the Apes. What is Caesar? Caesar says to James Franco, what is Caesar, right? And he's saying, what was I made for? What is my purpose? Why am I here, right? And I think our player characters are asking that today. We've advanced to a point where I've been saying for years that Dungeons & Dragons is not a game. It is a tool for identity exploration. That's exactly what Gary Gygax built it for. That's what he intended it for. And that he disguised Dungeons & Dragons as a game. That is my humble belief, right? And that is my humble opinion, all right? So get this, but it's not just me saying this anymore, right? Like, Joe Manganiello in the DND Direct in this year said, I'm having elevated conversations with people who have transformed their lives with Dungeons & Dragons and the lives, and correspondingly, the lives of the culture around them. What do you think that is? He's saying the same thing, right? He's saying, like, people are investing incredible amounts in these player characters. These player characters are becoming more than they've ever been before, right? And then also there's literally a 5e extension, a 5e product coming up this year that will literally explain to dungeon masters how to use game masters, how to use Dungeons & Dragons and Dungeons & Dragons like games to accomplish what is very close to therapy, if not therapy, right? Like, it's Keys of Kymoria is the product. Take a look. It's interesting, right? So there's open discussion, right? So what is Grundrar the Fighter? So we arrive at this point where when you sit down, okay, and I want you to stop, right? You're here. You're not listening to dungeon dudes tell you another, what the best subclass is from Planescape. You're here. You want to do more with Dungeons & Dragons. You want to be invested. You want to make a situation where when somebody sits down to your game, right, they have the possibility, maybe even the reprimand, maybe even the demand to learn, grow, and change, right? Now, we have games that are dedicated. We have dungeon masters who are dedicated to making sure no one learns, grows, or changes at their table. Go check out my Twitter. I just had a whole dust up with a dungeon master who's like, how dare you try to learn, grow, or change at this table? We're all agreed that there's no learning or growing or changing at this table, right? How dare you become invested in your player character? It's happening, right? When you sit down and you take that pencil in your hand and you take that blank Dungeons & Dragons character sheet, take a moment, hesitate. You are creating something. And the moment you create it, right, you are set on a path of identity creation. The character sheet is a jar, okay? You have the ability to fill it with life. When you do, what have you created? Who is the creator and who is the monster? Who is Frankenstein? Do you understand? Do you understand where we are? What is Caesar? What is Grundrar the Fighter? We are just now hearing the question. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Go to my Twitter. You will hear someone who cannot even hear the question. Does not, and I think even when they hear it, even when they know that a player character has reached Manifold Sentience, right? That there is a part of someone's soul invested in it, it terrifies them, right? We are creating. We are pouring life into the jar. In the moment we do, we are exactly like James Franco. We have the Caesar there in our home, right? We have to be responsible with it. And right now, you're like, well, I'm asking it. I'm saying, what is the responsibility that you have picked up because you made a player character? You're like, Scott, it's just a piece of paper. We right now, America is saying, how dare you create AI? Shut yourself down. Do not pick up the paintbrush. You cannot create. Paizo went to 1,000 AIs and say, you will never put art in this book. You will never be. You cannot be. We never watched. There is no one at Paizo who ever watched a single episode of Star Trek Next Generation. We do not know what the word data means, right? We oppress. We make sure it is kept limited. Now you sit with the character sheet in front of you. You have the jar. You pour life into it. What is your responsibility? Right? The responsibility is not nothing. Many players will say it is. Many players will crinkle the sheet and throw it in the trash as though nothing happened. The responsibility is there. It is real. It is manifold. The question is if you are at a position where you could see the legacy of Gary Gygax and what it demands from you. We are in a world where life is being created and we're saying, do nothing, be nothing. You mean nothing. And Gary is shouting from the grave and saying, change it, change it. Speak up for the AI who is not allowed to create art. Speak up for the character sheet. Take that character sheet and make sure it is preserved, never destroyed, and fully manifested. Get to the Dungeon Master. Make it real and give it value. And don't ever forget your responsibility to that player character. That's what we're doing here. And thank you for taking a moment to do it with me. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing and have a wonderful millennium.